What's going on, guys? K-Pine here and welcome back. And oh boy, do I have a fun one here for you today featuring the Squirtle Squad Sunglasses Blastoise. That's a tongue twister. Maybe we'll just call him Glastoise from now on. Anyways, me being the avid Blastoise enjoyer that I am, I've been wanting to run him for a while now. And while this is a very fun team, I don't recommend it to climb rank as it has a lot of shared weaknesses such as an Azu Lead or an Altaria Lead. And right before we get into it, this first battle is against a good friend of mine, Factions Captain and Twitch streamer, KingOwlexander. I honestly can't say enough good things about him, so do me a favor and be sure to check him out on Twitch as he's a fantastic battler and you could definitely learn a thing or two from him. I'll put a link to his channel down below in the description. And with that, let's get right into the battles. Alright, getting to the first battle, we lead Blastoise into Noctowl. Pretty neutral lead for us here, as the sky attacks and wing attacks will add up over time, and we do get to hit back for super effective with the Ice Beam if we are able to land it. And as always, Hydro Cannon is a really good move, so that does hit hard. My opponent swaps out into the Medicham. We bring in our Trevenant to meet it, and this is looking pretty good for us right now because we can tank this first Ice Punch, load up, and throw the Shadow Ball on the CMP tie to their next Ice Punch to maximize our energy gain. So either take out the Medicham or force their first shield. They decide to let it go and deciding to get farm on their Noctowl instead, where they're gonna no shield everything here and farm all the way down. So it's a pretty good play by them to store up all this energy since they have a lot to threaten my Blastoise now. We just get to the Ice Beam when they throw off a Sky Attack, and I will let this go because I do survive it. And my opponent swaps out to not give up their first shield in case I did throw an Ice Beam into a Lanturn. And now this is pretty much a baiting game in the two shield between Altaria and Lanturn. I do shield up the first because I do expect them to go for the Thunderbolt right away since Altaria is pretty tanky and I do get it right. So now because I get the Sky Attack bait as well as the Thunderbolt shield correct, I'm expecting them to go for a Surf right here to try and catch it back up on energy. So I no shield, and it ends up being a great call by me. So now I'm going to go straight for this Moonblast. I don't want them to call a Sky Attack and potentially get to another move without giving up their last shield, and they let it go. So now I'm looking pretty good here because I can shield this up, get to a Sky Attack, which will take out the Noctowl or force their last shield, and I do have that Ice Beam stored on my Lanturn in the back to take it out on my Blastoise in the back in case they do end up shielding that. So GG is very well played to KingOwlexander right there. Next match, Blastoise into Registeel. This is a terrible matchup for us in the zero shield since they can hit us for that Zap Cannon. But the more shields we commit, the better of a matchup it becomes because these Water Guns and Hydro Cannons do add up over time. First one lands, bring down the Registeel to about half health. And I will shield this because I do not want to get hit by a Zap Cannon and want to preserve my Blastoise's health. So now I'm going to load up on more energy, throw this Hydro Cannon again right as I get to it. Not playing around at all. And I end up getting the first shield from the Registeel, and I'm going to swap to try and catch a move onto my Trevenant. But the Registeel holds onto the energy, and they end up throwing anyways. And now this is absolutely perfect because it ends up wasting their energy, and I overfarm to play to the CMP tie onto the Frostlass. So I either take it out right here, or they don't get any extra energy since they are stuck with that charge move priority animation. They bring in a Chestnut to try and Vine Whip down. We are going to commit to the Shadow Ball to either do massive damage or get their final shield. So we do get their final shield, and now this is game over at this point because my Altaria can just come in and absolutely wall this Chestnut. GG's to my opponent. Next battle, we lead Blastoise into Altaria. Now, this is a terrible lead for us because we're dealing resisted with the Water Guns, Hydro Cannons. We can't swap out because we have Trevenant. Our best answer to it is our own Altaria. But we do have the Ice Beam, so if we're able to successfully bait well or land it, this could work well for us. And well, one thing I've learned actually is to really never throw the Ice Beam unless your opponent has zero shields, because they will shield the potential Ice Beam every single time. I don't think in all of the games I ran with this team, when I would build up to an Ice Beam and beta Hydro Cannon, they ever no-shielded it. So it has become a very, very safe shield, and it's also beneficial because if you're able to successfully bait, you have more energy to potentially get to a Hydro Cannon needed at the end of the match. But in this game, they switch in Registeel into my Altaria. Not great for us, but we are able to tank a Zap Cannon like we do. And my opponent is just able to get the lock on down before we reach our last second Sky Attack. Kind of unfortunate for us, but we do have 2 shields here. And I am going to bring in my Blastoise to force them to throw energy and rely on my Trevenant to win this game. They have an Altaria in the lead. I'm hoping that because they have an Altaria in the lead, that is their only answer to the Trevenant. So I'm going to throw the Seed Bomb right before the Registeel gets to another move to not have to take one. And they bring in their Altaria, and this is giving me hope because here I can shield the Sky Attack and I can just keep on going with Shadow Claws. And my opponent swaps out into a Swampert. So there it is, weak to Trevenant in the back, very, very weak. So I'm going to throw this Seed Bomb once I get to basically 100 energy. They shield it. So now I can play to the CMP tie to the Swampert, take it out. They bring the Altaria. And since I still have a shield, my opponent realizes that the game's over at that point and they can see GG's to them. Able to come back from a tough lead in that one. Obstagoon Lead. Now this is a fairly neutral matchup for us. We do win in the 1 shields, but we lose in the 0s and 2s. The thing here, we sort of have to take switch advantage because Obstagoons always have a flyer behind it. Sometimes Altarius, but almost always Noctowl. Sometimes Altaria paired with Noctowl, but almost always a Noctowl. And my opponent lets this go, which is huge for me because now I can shield, take switch, and make it so my Trevenant is no longer aligned to that Noctowl. But they decide to switch out instead, and there's a Lanturn in the back. Do you guys see it? This team's starting to look a little familiar to you? Because it kind of is to me. But perfect for us, we're able to get our Trevenant aligned to this Lanturn. We do take a Thunderbolt right here, and look what I do. They blow it up to the back-to-back surfs, and I'm gonna let them throw. They actually go for a Thunderbolt this time, but if a Lanturn, and I would have been able to farm down right away, but I didn't want to risk it. But if a Lanturn throws a Thunderbolt, then loads up to 10 to the back-to-back surfs, let them throw that first surf because it brings your Trevenant very, very low, and you still win the CMP tie to take out the Lanturn, and it minimizes the amount of farm a Noctowl could get on you otherwise. And speaking of Noctowl, here it is, and now this team is looking very familiar to me. And because we are able to get the shield with the Hydro Cannon right there, we do force the Noctowl to throw for fear of us getting to another Hydro Cannon, so we can just bring in our Altaria and comfortably be able to take out this Noctowl. We are going to let the first move go. They do go for a Sky Attack. That is perfectly okay for us. We're going to load up to the Moonblast, throw this Sky Attack. Really, there's no need, but it's always a nice thing to practice building up to a bigger charge move to potentially threaten it in other situations. We still survive this next move. We're going to let it go because we can reach the Sky Attack and take out this Noctowl in time. GG's to my opponent, and that is a very, very cool team they're running. Next battle, we lead Blastoise into Medicham. We have 2 better answers for it in the back, so we are going to swap into our Altaria, which is the softer answer. My opponent's going to stand. They're going to throw an Ice Punch, get some nice chip damage onto my Altaria, and bring in a Noctowl of their own. And now because we have all this energy, we can potentially make a play for switch advantage here, or at least get shield advantage. And this is also great because we are able to bait out that Noctowl so our Trevenant doesn't have to face it in the endgame. So we do get that shield advantage right here, and I am perfectly fine letting this go because from here I can bring in my Blastoise and start spamming off these water guns against it. They will reach a move right here. I'm perfectly fine letting it go. Blastoise is somewhat tanky. The turtle takes that one on the chin. They do reach a second one, and unfortunately that means I will have to give up a shield right here. But I do have an entire Hydro Cannon worth of energy stored, and they bring in a Lanturn. So I'm gonna stick in with my Blastoise, throw off this Hydro Cannon. I do build up, notice there, I build up to essentially bait a Skull Bash to get that last shield from my opponent. And I'm lucky enough that they do give up that shield for the potential Skull Bash, because now this sets up my Trevenant in a perfect position for a sweep, because I still have a shield advantage, and I'm going to be able to get to this Shadow Ball before the Medicham forces me to give up my last shield with a potential Ice Punch, because that will do the most damage left in the game. And from here on out, my Trevenant is in a very, very comfortable position to land a C-Bomb against this Lanturn and finish off the match. C-Bomb coming through, takes out the Lanturn, and that is a good game. Next match, we lead Blastoise into Pelipper. Again, not a great lead for us because we're dealing resisted with our water moves, but we can threaten it with the Ice Beam. And just like I said last time, only ever go for Ice Beam when there are 0 shields, because they will shield it every time. Exhibit A. Shield the Ice Beam. And at least I do guarantee the shield from him in this sense, because my backline does well with shields up. But in this situation, they end up pivoting into a Registeel, and that's good for me because now I can get my Trevenant onto the Registeel instead of having my Altaria locked onto it. I do let this go. They do land the Zap Cannon. Unfortunately, they do get the debuff. But that is fine because the Shadow Ball will be able to land. Will do some good damage to the Registeel. And now I will start giving up my shields here. I will overfarm as much as I can, but unfortunately I won't be able to Shadow Claw down because they do double debuff me. And they snipe, that very nice snipe by my opponent. They land that Weather Ball. My Trevenant does survive, so I'll potentially save it for a sack swap in the end game if needed. So now I'm going to bring in my Altaria, and I will shield here because this is enough for the Hurricane, and it ends up being the Hurricane, so that's a big call by me. And they have a G-Fisk in the back. So turns out that I am going to need, even with all this energy advantage, I am going to need to land a sack swap on my Trevenant if I want any chance at winning this game. So second Sky Attack coming through. G-Fisk getting down to around half health. It is very tanky, and these Sky Attacks don't do much at all. Rock Slide lands. I'm loading up. I'm counting the moves. I switch. Not only did I get a sack swap, but did I get a CMP sack swap? I did. Able to get my charge move off, and we take this Rock Slide. So now we're in a great position. I just need to make sure they don't return the favor. So I overfarm here, and they return the favor. So I no bubble it to try and potentially get that energy back, but I don't. And very well played to my opponent. I played to my win con, then they ended up playing to their win con. They played that very, very well. GG's to them. Made that one a close one. Next match, Blastoise into G-Fisk. Very good lead for us. And we're going to see what they swap into. They swap into the Noctowl. I don't necessarily want to bring my Altaria in right away because it can get iffy the more shields you use and then landing the Sky Attack versus landing a Shadow Ball. So I want to stay in and I want to guarantee a shield from them. So I am going straight for this Ice Beam. Again, only go for Ice Beam, shields down. They shield it. But now this is fine because I can swap in my Altaria, and then after that water gun damage onto the Noctowl, I will be able to keep switch and keep my Blastoise aligned to the G-Fisk or even my Trevenant, and which is good because it doesn't have to face the Noctowl. And I let my Altaria get low. Bring down the screen a little bit right there. Whoopsies. Still able to hit all the bubbles. And they bring in that G-Fisk. I'm loading up. I'm throwing this Sky Attack right here. They will have to throw a Rock Slide to take me out as they can't Mud Shot me all the way down. So here comes that Rock Slide. Takes us out. Now we can bring in our Blastoise. See what they swap into. They swap into a Trevenant. And since we do have a shield advantage here, we are in a good situation. This is just a C-Bomb, but I have to shield it. I can't take that additional damage. So I'm going to throw a Seed Bomb of my own right here. They have to shield this as well because they need to keep their Trevenant alive for my Blastoise. And here they are going to be throwing another Seed Bomb, which is perfectly fine by me, of which I can shield. And I'm going to be throwing this Seed Bomb of my own to take out the Trevenant. Back in comes the G-Fisk. They have to commit to a Mud Shot down if they want to win. We're able to just hold on, get to the Shadow Ball, and the Shadow Ball will be enough to take out the G-Fisk. So very well played to my opponent. They made that matchup very, very close despite having a bad lead. Next battle, Blastoise to the Trevenant. Terrible lead for us. We're going to swap right away into our Trevenant. And since my opponent's ahead on energy, we're going to call a Seed Bomb, but there's no need to make a call here because they go straight for a Seed Bomb. And then they swap out into their Wall Rain. And we're at the back-to-back Seed Bombs ourselves, so we're able to get a shield and do some hefty damage against his Wall Rain before it farms us down. And even better, we bait out the Wall Rain so our Altaria doesn't have to see it. Now we just bring in our Blastoise, and we are going to commit to a Water Gun down. I will shield here to respect the Shadow Earthquake, and it is. So that's a very, very good shield. And now that we're able to Water Gun all the way down, we leave very, very close to an Ice Beam to threaten this Trevenant. But there's really no need to, because since my opponent stayed in for such a long time, and already down to half health, a Hydro Cannon will bring it super low to where my Altaria will be able to deal with it. They bring in a Defense Deoxys, and they realize the match is over, so they can see GG's. Next matchup, Blastoise against Noctowl. Again, we've seen this before. Pretty neutral matchup. We're going to load up to this Ice Beam. My opponent tries to catch a Hydro Cannon, actually, and swaps into a Lanturn. And they are now going to have to eat this Seed Bomb. And pretty sure this is that scenario I was talking about earlier, where you can see the Noctowl on the lead into a Lanturn save swap. And if you meet it with your Trevenant, you tank the first Thunderbolt. You count their moves. If they get to 10, it's the back-to-back Surfs. So you let one go. You let them throw. You let them throw. First Surf comes through. You CMP tie. Take them out with the Seed Bomb. And now because you took that Surf, your Trevenant is super, super low. So their Noctowl gets a lot less farm than they would otherwise. I'm only going to reach to one move. So I do go for the Shadow Ball. Even though the Shadow Ball is double resisted versus the Seed Bomb single resisted, Shadow Ball does do more damage overall. Now I'm going to bring my Blastoise. I'm going to let this first Sky Attack go through because we can take that no problem. We're going to load up, and now we're going to go for our Hydro Cannon right here. After we bait the Ice Beam, which of course they shield. And now my opponent's at another Sky Attack, so we will match shields with them. And now at this point, we're just going to go straight for the Hydro Cannon because the Noctowl is in Hydro Cannon range. And we end up actually getting their final shield. So I am going to respect this in return. Going to load up on energy. I'm counting their wing attacks. I plan to catch a move, which I do, and I leave with a Hydro Cannon store. That's very important. I leave with a Hydro Cannon store to potentially win a CMP tie in the end game. And because I caught that move, the Noctowl is now dry on energy. And Altaria versus G-Fisk in the zero shield like this, even though we've already taken a Sky Attack, we can bring the G-Fisk into Hydro Cannon range, which is very, very important for us. And Blastoise wins CMP tie over the G-Fisk. So as long as we don't get that one turn lag that has been happening a lot lately, or any other game mechanic happens that shouldn't, we should have this one in the bag. But we will see what happens. We swap in, we get that one turn lag, our charge move doesn't show up, and we're going to end up losing a heartbreakingly close game because of that. Let me know down below in the comments if you guys have been experiencing all that one turn lag recently, and if it's caused you to lose out on a couple games, because it's a very annoying feature. I know that Niantic has a lot to deal with on their hands, but I feel like that's a very, very important one to the state of the game. Let me know your opinions on that down below as well. Next matchup, they do bring in their Drapion, and we will swap into our Altaria. This is a fine matchup as long as we shield the crunches, but they end up baiting. And now this could be very, very close because they end up baiting us again. They can flip switch. And if they're able to flip switch, that Charizard could put a lot of hurt on my Trevenant. But the good news is we're able to get them shields down because they do end up double baiting us. They land the crunch, they take switch. And I'm going to bring my Blastoise, see what they have. They have a Lanturn in the back. So now I'm going to load up on energy against this Water Gun Lanturn, store a Hydro Cannon, swap into my Trevenant. They insta-swap into their Charizard, and because we have that Shadow Claw advantage from that swap, we're able to reach the Shadow Ball in time before they reach a Blast Burn, take them out, and then we'll be able to reach a Seed Bomb against this Lanturn as well, because we do hang on from that Thunderbolt. This little bit of chip is going to be very, very important to us, because once the Lanturn does Water Gun down our Trevenant, we leave with that Hydro Cannon to take out that Lanturn as well. GG's to my opponent. Seems like they force closed the app right here, as a little bit of lag first before the final move goes off. Next matchup, we lead Blastoise into Defense Deoxys. Two better answers against the DD, so we're going to switch into our Altaria, which again is the softer answer, and my opponent is staying in, wanting to get some chip off against the Altaria first, and they end up going for a Psycho Boost and then a little bit of a dip, and again we bait out that Noctowl, so very, very good swap for us there. Sky Attack comes through against the Noctowl, and I can let this go, but I can let this go and get to another move, but I decide to shield because I want to bring shields down against my opponent or take switch advantage to align my Trevenant up against that Defense Deoxys. So we do end up getting the shield. And I will commit my second shield to force my opponent to commit their second shield as well, or like I said, take switch advantage. And we take switch advantage, so now we have our Trevenant aligned to their Defense Deoxys, which is fantastic for us. And they end up actually bringing in their Defense Deoxys again, which is interesting because it won't be able to farm me down on those resisted counters. So they're going to have to throw a move, and they go for a Psycho Boost to lower their attack, but they swap out right away. They have an Umbreon in the back, and now this is huge for us that we were able to get switch advantage because this alignment is very, very important to not have the Umbreon on the Trevenant. Unfortunately, my opponent still does have a shield, so I'm going to need to be very careful to throw on good timing here to not allow any free turns through for my opponent. I'm able to get this next Hydro Cannon off, which should be getting their last shield, and it does. My opponent will be throwing off a Foul Play right here. There's a nice chunk of damage. They're throwing off their second Foul Play, which will take me out. And now this match is going to be very, very close. It's going to come down to the wire. So I throw after 4 Shadow Claws, which is good timing from a 2-turn to a 3-turn move. Umbreon just barely hangs on, and they're going to get off this Foul Play. But one Foul Play doesn't knock out my Trevenant. They bring in the DD. We get to the Seed Bomb. On the CMP tie, is it enough? And I miss a bubble, but it is just barely still enough to take out the Trevenant, and we'll be able to Shadow Claw down the Umbreon there for a very, very close game. GG's to my opponent. And that is the end of the video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one with a little bit of turtle action, because I sure know that I did. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.